Imagine a weary traveler who, throughout his journey, seeks only soft pillows and warm blankets, ever avoiding rain, wind, and the slightest discomfort. One day, he stumbles upon a craggy mountain path and, out of sheer necessity, is forced to climb. With each aching muscle and every gust of icy wind, he discovers a power he never knew he possessed. This tale of transformation captures the heart of Friedrich Nietzsche's bold claim. True happiness isn't found in unbroken comfort, but in struggle. In this article, we'll dive into why Nietzsche thought happiness is for weak people and how embracing hardship can lead us to our greatest strengths. Nietzsche derided modern society's religion of snug coziness, arguing that the relentless pursuit of ease actually weakens our spirit. He saw this creed in our obsession with instant gratification, endless entertainment, and the eradication of every trace of suffering. In The Gay Science, he warns that by treating discomfort as an enemy, we sacrifice the very challenges that sculpt our character. Comfort, in Nietzsche's eyes, is soul-crushing. It lulls us into complacency, blunting our instincts and numbing our creative drive. Consider the story of a young composer who habitually works only in a perfectly silent studio with climate control. When a sudden heat wave knocks out the air conditioning, he's forced to compose amidst oppressive warmth and street noise. Rather than giving up, he adapts, discovering new melodies inspired by the city's hum. His music gains an unexpected vigor, a testament to how hardship can ignite innovation. Nietzsche believed that societies enamored with comfort risk becoming what he called the last man, content with trivial pleasures, devoid of ambition or vision. By elevating ease to the highest good, we unwittingly sacrifice our potential for greatness. True vitality, he insisted, requires a constant tension between challenge and relief, where discomfort serves as a crucible forging strength, creativity, and authentic joy. Nietzsche insisted that happiness and misfortune are not opposites, but siblings who must grow together. He wrote in The Gay Science that those who chase only pleasure while avoiding all suffering end up with a stunted spirit. Happiness and misfortune are two siblings and twins who either grow up together or remain small together. For Nietzsche, the drive to eliminate every trace of pain is a misguided denial of life's richness. Imagine a mountain climber who only trains on flat terrain. When confronted with a sheer cliff, they falter, not because they lack skill, but because they've never known resistance. Conversely, each icy wind and sloping ledge endured strengthens their muscles, sharpens focus, and deepens gratitude when they finally stand atop the summit. This is the alchemy of joy forged in adversity. By embracing hardship, we amplify our capacity to experience joy. A musician who composes after heartbreak discovers melodies infused with raw emotion. A gardener who revives wilted plants learns the profound beauty of regeneration. Without misfortune, happiness becomes hollow, a fleeting sensation devoid of depth. Nietzsche's vision challenges us to welcome life's trials as essential partners in crafting a resilient, expansive soul capable of celebrating joy in its fullest measure. Nietzsche's will to power is the fundamental drive underpinning every living being's urge to overcome obstacles and expand its influence. He maintained that without resistance, life stagnates, much like a languid river that loses its vigor when it ceases to flow over rocks. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he likens the will to power to a seed that must burst through the earth's crust. Only by pushing against the soil's weight does it develop the strength and structure necessary to become a towering tree. Imagine a novice archer practicing in perfect conditions: steady wind, uniform light, a forgiving target. Her arrows consistently hit the bullseye, but her skill remains superficial. When the wind shifts unpredictably and shadows lengthen, she must adapt, learning to read the air, adjust her aim, and trust her instincts. Each misfired arrow teaches her more than 100 successes ever could. For Nietzsche, such struggle is not a mere trial to endure, but the very substance of vitality. Adversity fuels creativity and resilience, forging character as fire tempers steel. The will to power transforms obstacles into opportunities, compelling us to grow beyond our perceived limits. By embracing challenge as a catalyst rather than a curse, we harness the engine of self-overcoming and unlock the fullest realization of our potential. Nietzsche's famous dictum, "What does not kill me makes me stronger," is far more than a catchy aphorism. It encapsulates his conviction that suffering is the forge in which our deepest strengths are wrought. He urged us to see hardship not as an affliction to be avoided, but as an indispensable discipline. In Twilight of the Idols, he even calls great suffering a teacher that has created all enhancements of humanity so far. Consider the story of Layla, paralyzed by self-doubt after a devastating public failure. Instead of retreating, she embraced the humiliation, dissecting every mistake. Through months of grueling self-analysis and rebuilding her technique, she emerged not only more confident but innovative, developing strategies no conventional mentor could teach. For Nietzsche, this active engagement with pain distinguishes the strong from the weak. Suffering becomes a challenge to be met head-on, transformed into creative energy. He rejected passive endurance, mere stoicism without growth, and instead championed an alchemy of adversity, where each trial tests and refines our will. Rather than cowering before hardship, we should lean into it, using every setback as raw material for self-overcoming. In doing so, we discover reserves of resilience and creativity that comfort alone could never awaken. Nietzsche equates weakness with a refusal to confront reality honestly, insisting that self-deception and resentment are the true marks of feebleness. In his short story White Nights, the narrator crafts elaborate fantasies to avoid admitting his loneliness, showing how dishonesty fractures both authenticity and agency. Those who deny painful truths, old wounds, unfulfilled ambitions, construct fragile house of cards lives, perpetually one gust of reality away from collapse. Nietzsche warns that this flight from truth spawns toxic envy. The weak demonize the qualities they secretly covet, weaponizing morality to justify their own inertia. A resentful, nice guy, for example, will deride the beloved he failed to win, cloaking bitterness in righteous indignation. True strength, Nietzsche argues, demands brutal transparency. We must face our limitations not to languish in guilt, but to transform them into catalysts for growth. Consider the artist who, upon admitting her mediocre drafts, invites critique and experimentation. Only then can she evolve. Each hard truth accepted becomes a cornerstone for self-overcoming. By stripping away comforting illusions, we forge a will unbound by falsehoods, capable of genuine integrity and creative power. In Nietzsche's vision, only through radical honesty can we transcend weakness and build lives of purpose and resilience. Nietzsche saw pity not as a virtue, but as a subtle form of cruelty that entrenches weakness and dependence. When we pity someone, we position ourselves above them, implying they lack the strength to stand without our compassion. This dynamic disempowers both parties. The pitied individual internalizes a victim identity, while the one offering pity cultivates a patronizing superiority that stifles genuine connection and growth. Imagine a teacher who constantly rescues a struggling student by doing their assignments for them out of kindness. The student never learns problem-solving skills, and the teacher remains trapped in a self-righteous loop, deriving satisfaction from another's failure. Nietzsche would argue that authentic support requires challenging the student, setting high expectations and trusting their capacity to overcome difficulty. According to Nietzsche, pity thus betrays a fear of one's own vulnerability. By focusing on suffering, we distract ourselves from confronting our own capacity for weakness. Instead of pity, he champions active compassion, engaging others as equals, inspiring their self-reliance, and provoking them to cultivate their inner resources. Only by refusing to coddle, but instead to challenge and empower, can we foster resilience, creativity, and genuine solidarity. freeing both the helper and the helped from the stagnation of false benevolence. Nietzsche's highest affirmation of life is encapsulated in the concept of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. Rather than merely accepting unavoidable hardships, Amor Fati demands that we actively embrace every event, good or ill, as necessary threads in the tapestry of our existence. This radical affirmation transforms suffering from a misfortune into an essential element of growth and self-realization. Imagine a writer whose manuscript is rejected by every publisher. Under the lens of Amor Fati, each rejection letter becomes not a verdict on talent, but a guidepost pointing toward refinement, inviting revisions that ultimately deepen the narrative's impact. The very obstacles once deemed catastrophic are reinterpreted as gifts that shape one's voice and vision. For Nietzsche, this stance represents the pinnacle of strength, a will so powerful that it not only endures life's blows, but cherishes them. By loving our fate, we reject the victim mindset that wallows in resentment and instead forge an unbreakable bond with reality. Amor Fati frees us from the illusion that we could, or should, control every outcome. Instead, we participate fully in the creative act of living, celebrating adversity as a crucible that forges character, purpose, and ultimately joy. In loving what is, we become architects of our own destiny. At the summit of Nietzsche's vision stands the Übermensch, the overman who forges his own values through incessant self-overcoming. Unlike the last man, content with comfort and conventional morality, the Übermensch breaks free from herd-imposed norms, becoming an architect of his own meaning. This figure embodies courage, to stand alone, to question sacred traditions, and to proclaim new ideals born from personal struggle. Imagine an artist who refuses the gallery's taste for safe landscapes. After years of rejection, she invents a radical style, melding sculpture with performance art that defies critics and electrifies audiences. Her creation wasn't handed down by authority, but emerged from wrestling with doubt, ridicule, and financial hardship. Each obstacle compelled her to refine her vision until her values and her work shined with authenticity. The Übermensch doesn't merely react to external pressures, he transforms suffering into a crucible for creativity. By embracing uncertainty and taking full responsibility for his choices, he lives as a yes-sayer to life in all its facets. His values aren't borrowed but self-crafted, expressions of a will that has triumphed over weakness. In this way, the Übermensch illuminates a path for humanity, one where greatness arises not from comfort or conformity, but from daring to create oneself anew in the face of life's relentless challenges. In our era of instant streaming, one-click ordering, and algorithmic recommendations, Nietzsche's warning about excessive comfort has never felt more urgent. He foresaw the rise of the last man, an individual so satisfied with security and trivial pleasures that ambition, creativity, and true vitality wither away. Today, many retreat into curated social media feeds, binge-watching series, and filling every idle moment with distraction. Yet by doing so, they forfeit opportunities to grapple with uncertainty and adversity, the very catalysts that awaken our latent strengths. Imagine two friends. One spends weekends lounging on the couch, the other volunteers at a community garden, wrestling with stubborn soil and unpredictable weather. The volunteer returns each week with stories of small triumphs, seedlings revived, teamwork lessons learned, while the lounger's most exciting tale is a new show premiere. Nietzsche would argue that these modest struggles forge richer characters and deeper satisfaction than any comfort high. To resist becoming the last man, embrace micro-challenges. Learn a demanding skill, fast from digital comfort for a day, or tackle a project outside your expertise. By deliberately stepping into mild discomfort, we reignite the will to power, keeping our spirit supple, our creativity kindled, and our lives aligned with Nietzsche's vision of growth through resistance. Nietzsche didn't dismiss happiness, he redefined it, not as the absence of pain, but as the triumph over it. True fulfillment arises when we welcome struggle as life's indispensable ally. By rejecting the easy path and daring to grow through resistance, we unlock reservoirs of strength, creativity, and genuine joy. So next time you're tempted to retreat into comfort, remember, the greatest adventures and the deepest happiness await on the rugged trails of adversity. Seek wisdom.